Alright, welcome back. This video is part 3 of the character modeling tutorial. The last video we discussed how to block out the body, the torso from the crotch area all the way to the head. And then next we're going to talk about how to use symmetry tools and extrude out the arms to the wrist or the forehand area. And then we will come back and talk about in the next video how to set up the legs as well. So considering that we have a good torso setup, we can now turn on the symmetry tools. We have our symmetry lines set up. So with 4 faces selected over here, I can go into the modeling toolkit and turn on object X symmetry. Considering my character is facing the Z-axis, that means my symmetry is going to be on the X-axis. So now with symmetry object X on, whatever I do to one side, it's going to do the exact same to the other side. So this will save us a lot of time and also make sure our model is starting to be completely symmetrical. Whether your final character is symmetrical or not, I'd always suggest starting a model in a symmetrical modeling standpoint because we can get proportions nailed down properly without having to worry about one object or one arm having individual detail. So it's really good to start that way. So these 4 faces are what we blocked out for where the arm is going to come out. So what we can do first is start to extrude the shoulder. We can come in here and take some of the vertices and kind of move them around so it's a little bit more curved, rounded of a form. We don't want to go too crazy with this first adjustment, but it would be nicer to start with a little bit more circular of a form than this kind of trapezoid type form. So something like that. So I'm just going to move each one of the corner points in and forward closer to the shoulder area. Can move this one down some. There you go. That looks all right. Pull this one down. So that way we're starting with a more cylindrical form. The same reason why we created a cylindrical shape from the cubic shape to begin with. This is just a good starting point to continue to have a cylindrical form for the arm. All right, pull that out just a little bit. There you go. All right, we can always refine that later. So from those vertices moved, now we can take those 4 faces with symmetry on, so it'll do it to both sides, and go to extrude. Now sometimes with symmetry on, it'll actually show you the extrude arrow on the opposite side. That's another reason why I just immediately get the move tool and then start moving that out. Depends on kind of how the tool is used, but basically I just want to come block out an initial extrusion that's pretty close to the original position, but it is extruded out some so that I can really refine my cylindrical shape. So from the scale tool, I can scale it in on the x-axis to kind of flatten the shape out. And then now what I can do is maybe take those vertices and move them down a little bit more. Try to even this out so it is as close to a cylindrical shape as possible. Move that down a little. Move that down a little. Maybe these could go down a little more as well. So I'm just trying to balance out this form a little bit so it is more cylindrical. That'll help me as I get closer to the rest of the form there. Since I've done this, I might need to move my faces out a little more and then like take this edge, kind of blend it back a little bit. It's not overlapping at all. All right, so now I'm gonna make sure really the front and perspective view is gonna be more important here. My side view, the body's in the way. So I'm also going to be modeling the character with T-pose, so the arms are straight parallel with the shoulders and the hands are going to be facing down. So this is called a palms down T-pose. This is a lot more successful for when we get to the rigging standpoint of how we're going to set up the character for motion, to do a T-pose instead of a A-frame or Y-frame modified T-pose. So my arms are going to be out just as my drawing shows. Alright, so we can match proportions a little better. And then now we can extrude, scale this. This will be kind of like the top of the shoulder coming down. We're just going to do some simple rotate as we kind of move around here. Scale it up a little bit. And I'm going to keep extruding, so we will scale, move it down. We'll adjust it for like the rotate of the arms in a minute. All right, so this is the bicep, a little bigger, and I might exaggerate some of my scale a little bit more compared to what my drawing is. The drawing is just a starting point. It's just a way that we can kind of block out the body so we can know what to do once we get to 3D. All right, I'm getting towards the elbow. I think, yeah, the elbow. So the elbow now, and every loop we want about 4 edge loops. So if I look around the shoulder, I'll have about 3 or 4. I'm going to add another one later to kind of blend that. But every joint that needs to move, if you need or want to have natural organic motion, we need to have about 4 edge loops around that joint. So we're going to do about 4 edge loops around the shoulder, about 4 edge loops around the elbow, wrist, and so forth. So we're going to do extrude, kind of move it around or down some, down towards the end of the hand. We're going to do extrude again. Now we can kind of start to scale a little bit, and we'll do one more time. So if we do 4 edge loops around that elbow, it's going to bend more naturally. So we can come to the perspective view and kind of move some of these points out. The bend of the elbow would go backwards there, and then the inside of the elbow would kind of bend in for the crevice this way. There you go. All right. Pretty good so far. The forearm is another kind of bulbous area. Might start to kind of scale that out a little bit. So same tool, I'm just going to extrude. We will scale a little bit in our axes that we need. And keep extruding. All right, scale it down some so it's tapered. Keep going. And we're at the wrist now, so we want to have 4 loops around the wrist. Make sure we're still proportionate. Everything looks pretty good. So we'll do 1. Maybe that's the same size. The next one is a little wider because the wrist widens here. And then the last one, we'll widen it a little bit more as well. Okay. So I've kind of rotated my hand down a little bit, but I'm really looking for this for the scale, so I'm going to keep it straight, make it easier. So basically this entire line here is going to be straight, which is going to be really nice when I get to rigging and in motion. All right, so for right now, we're just going to block out the wrist. So we'll scale it out some, kind of widen it. And then this is going to be like the end where the 4 fingers will start to pull off from that position. It might need to be a little larger, or like this loop could be back a little more. There we go. So the thumb is going to come out from the side, the 4 fingers are going to come out from the end there. All right, as you can see, I've modeled one side and it just went ahead and did the other side for me. So we've got the arms blocked out. We also talked about adding 4 edge loops around each major joint. That's going to be pretty important. We'll come back and add some more edge loops around the neck and the torso later for better deformation, but we have the upper body blocked out. So in the next video, we're going to come back and talk about how to extrude the legs out and how to add more detail to the legs and the body that way.